I never thought my marriage would become a crime scene of lies. Brianna and I had built what everyone called the perfect life in our Austin suburb. 15 years of shared dreams, 2 beautiful kids, and a home in Lakeway that represented everything we'd worked for. I was climbing the ladder as an IT project manager at a growing tech firm. She was thriving in marketing at a prestigious agency downtown, and our routine felt sacred. Sacred until it turned sour. It started with her phone, always face down now, buzzing with secrets she claimed were urgent client updates. The late-night strategy sessions became constant. What used to be occasional overtime turned into 3 nights a week of empty dinners and cold beds. When I'd joke, "Do marketing campaigns really need midnight brainstorming?" her smile would tighten, the kind that warned me not to push. Our 6-year-old Aiden would ask, "Why doesn't Mommy eat dinner with us anymore?" While 3-year-old Zoe played with her food, sensing the tension even at her age. I'd make excuses about Mommy's important work, but inside, my architect's mind, trained through years of systematic problem solving, began cataloging inconsistencies. Then came the fitness obsession. Brand new Lululemon sets appeared in our bedroom, designer gym bags I'd never seen before, and evening classes that never matched the schedules I found online. Her showers stretched into 45-minute marathons, long enough to wash away guilt, not just sweat. Our bedroom turned Arctic, 2 strangers lying inches apart, closer to enemies than lovers. I wasn't stupid. My IT background had taught me to notice patterns, anomalies, system failures. I started watching with the same methodical approach I use for debugging complex networks. New dresses that never appeared at family dinners. Phone calls cut short when I entered rooms. Business trips to conferences that didn't exist when I researched them online. Credit card notifications for charges at restaurants we'd never visited. The details stacked like error logs in a corrupted database. Each inconsistency became a data point in a case I didn't want to build but couldn't ignore. I found myself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling while she slept peacefully beside me, analyzing every excuse she'd given, every story that didn't quite align with reality. Her laptop, left open on the kitchen counter one morning while she showered, showed Google searches for boutique hotels Austin and discreet restaurants downtown. When I casually asked about her lunch plans that day, she mentioned meeting a college friend at a coffee shop across town. Another lie added to the growing collection. The day my suspicions crystallized into undeniable proof, I was working from our home office when our Ring doorbell chimed. Through the app notification on my phone, I watched a silver BMW pull into our driveway, a car I'd never seen before. A man in his early 40s stepped out, confident and smug, like he owned the neighborhood. Well-dressed, contractor's build, wedding ring catching the afternoon sunlight. When Brianna opened the door, her laugh carried through the speaker, the same laugh she used to give me during our college days. The kiss that followed, long and deliberate, made my chest tighten like a vice being cranked. 15 years of loyalty destroyed, in the time it took another man's lips to claim my wife's. I saved the video immediately, my IT instincts kicking into overdrive. Backup files, cloud storage, multiple copies. This evidence would be bulletproof. She returned that evening humming about her productive day, hair still damp from another extended shower. She reheated leftovers while chatting about nothing. Client presentations, team meetings, office politics. Oblivious that I'd watched her entire performance through our own security system. "How was yoga class?" I asked casually, cutting into my reheated pasta. "Amazing," she replied without missing a beat. Really worked out some tension. The audacity of it almost made me laugh. But I didn't explode. I'd learned from years of troubleshooting complex systems that explosions only create more problems. Explosions warn the enemy. I wanted her destroyed systematically, methodically, completely. That night, while Brianna took another suspiciously long shower, I opened my laptop and began building my case with the same precision I use for network security audits. If she thought she was untouchable, operating without leaving digital fingerprints, she was about to learn how wrong she was. Cloud storage revealed deleted photos she thought were gone forever. Phone backup files showed text message threads with numbers I didn't recognize. Our joint credit card statements became a roadmap of deception. 40 betholder dinners at intimate bistros we'd never visited together. $89 spa treatments at hotels across town, $156 for Victoria's Secret purchases that never made it into our bedroom. Each transaction became a line item in my growing ledger of betrayal. I created spreadsheets, sorted by date and amount, cross-referenced with her, claimed whereabouts. The pattern was damning. Every client dinner coincided with expensive restaurant charges. Every evening yoga class aligned with hotel payments. My forensic audit revealed $4,200 of our money spent on her 6-month affair. Money that should have gone toward Aiden's soccer league fees, Zoe's preschool tuition, our family vacation fund. Instead, it had funded hotel rooms and romantic dinners with a stranger who was destroying our family. The BMW's license plate led me down another digital rabbit hole. Texas Department of Motor Vehicles records, cross-referenced with property databases, social media profiles. Justin Caldwell, age 41, married contractor living in Pflugerville with his wife Melissa and their 2 daughters. A man with his own family, his own children, his own unsuspecting spouse waiting at home while he kissed my wife. In our driveway. My blood boiled imagining this man's hands on Brianna, but I channeled that rage into documentation. Screenshots, printed records, organized folders. I was building a fortress of evidence that would be unassailable in court. For 2 weeks, I played the devoted husband while constructing my digital war room. I opened a separate account at a credit union downtown, transferring small amounts that wouldn't trigger alerts or appear on statements she might see. I gathered financial records, photographed important documents, created encrypted backup files of everything. My home office became mission control, and I was preparing for total victory. But I needed professional reinforcement, someone with investigative experience who could gather evidence that would hold up under legal scrutiny. Detective Paul Matthews came highly recommended by a colleague who'd gone through his own messy divorce. We met at a Starbucks on 6th Street, steam from our coffees fogging the windows between us, while downtown Austin bustled outside. "You want confirmation?" Matthews asked, opening his notebook. I slid my phone across the table, Ring doorbell footage lighting the screen. "Not confirmation, documentation, proof that can't be disputed, manipulated, or explained away." Matthews studied the video, his expression growing stern. "Understood. This goes to court. You want it airtight." "Completely bulletproof," I confirmed. "I want the truth carved in stone." For 3 weeks, Matthews shadowed Brianna's every move while I maintained my role as the oblivious husband. Each morning, I'd kiss her goodbye and wish her well with her client meetings, knowing full well that Detective Matthews would be documenting her real activities. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was paying a professional investigator to follow my own wife while she used our joint account to fund her affair. She'd return home each evening glowing, spinning elaborate tales about client presentations and team meetings. I'd sit across from her at our granite kitchen island, watching her animated storytelling, wondering if she felt even an ounce of guilt for the man who once worshipped the ground she walked on. Our children would chatter about their school days while she nodded and smiled, playing the devoted mother between bites of reheated dinner. "Daddy, why do you look sad?" Zoe asked one evening, her innocent 3-year-old eyes studying my face with the perceptiveness that only children possess. "Just thinking about work, sweetheart," I replied, forcing a smile. "Nothing for you to worry about." But I was thinking about work, the work of dismantling a marriage built on 15 years of lies that I'd somehow missed until now, the work of protecting my children from the fallout of their mother's choices, the work of ensuring justice would be served with surgical precision. Matthews called on a Thursday afternoon, his voice carrying the weight of confirmation I both needed and dreaded. "Got everything you need. When can we meet?" We convened at the same Starbucks, but this time the thick manila envelope between us contained the ammunition that would end my marriage. Inside, high-resolution photographs, time stamps, video surveillance from multiple angles. Brianna entering the Omni Hotel downtown with her yoga mat, a prop in her elaborate performance. Leaving hours later disheveled and glowing, her hair mussed in ways that had nothing to do with exercise. Justin Caldwell, identified in detail, married father of 2, owner of Caldwell Construction, living in Pflugerville with his unsuspecting wife who graded middle school papers at home while he destroyed another family. The photographs showed him confident, smug, a man who believed he was untouchable. Your wife and this Caldwell character have been meeting twice weekly for 6 months, Matthews reported, his tone professional but sympathetic. Hotels, his house when his wife's at work, even your neighborhood when you travel for business. They're not trying to hide it anymore. I stared at those images for a long time, rage simmering like lava under cracked earth. But I didn't throw the file across the room or storm out like some unhinged animal. This wasn't about fury. It was about precision, about strategic dismantling of two people who thought they were too clever to face consequences. That's when inspiration struck like lightning, illuminating a dark landscape. Why should I be the only one seeking justice? Justin's wife deserved to know the truth too. She was as much a victim as I was, perhaps more so, grading her students' papers while her husband violated the sacred trust of marriage just miles away. Through LinkedIn's search function, I found Melissa Caldwell, a middle school teacher with kind eyes and family photos that would soon become painful memories. Her profile showed a woman devoted to education, to her 2 daughters, to a life that was being torn apart without her knowledge. I crafted a careful message, choosing each word deliberately. I believe our spouses are having an affair. I have extensive documentation. Would you be willing to meet to discuss what we've both discovered? Her response came within 2 hours. Yes, when can we meet? I've suspected for months but had no proof. Melissa and I met at Torchy's Tacos on South Lamar the following evening. The evidence spread between us like cards revealing a rigged game. She was smaller than I'd expected, with laugh lines around her eyes that spoke of someone who genuinely enjoyed life, or had until recently. Her hands shook as she examined Matthew's photographs, watching her husband kissing my wife, entering hotels, their obvious intimacy captured in permanent record. "How long have you known?" she whispered, tears forming but not yet falling. 3 months of suspicion, 3 weeks of documented proof, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "How long have you suspected?" 6 months of excuses that didn't make sense, late construction meetings at locations that were already finished, business trips that didn't match his calendar, her voice hardened with each word, weekend work calls that sounded more like personal conversations. She pulled out her own phone, showing me credit card statements she'd printed, charges at the same hotels Matthews had photographed, dinner expenses that coincided with Brianna's mysterious client meetings, even flower purchases that never made it home to her. "What do we do?" she asked, her teacher's mind already shifting into problem-solving mode. "We make sure they both lose everything," I said simply. Our alliance formed organically, 2 betrayed spouses united by shared devastation and a hunger for justice that neither of us could achieve alone. Melissa had her own treasure trove of evidence, financial records, suspicious phone calls, business expenses that made no sense for a contractor working local jobs. "I teach conflict resolution to middle schoolers," she said with bitter irony. "I know that actions have consequences, but somehow I thought my marriage was exempt from that basic truth. Together, we built a case that would be unbreakable in court. While I had technological surveillance and financial forensics, she had intimate knowledge of Justin's business operations, his professional relationships, his reputation in the contractor community that would crumble once word spread. We coordinated our strategies like military tacticians planning a campaign. I would prepare divorce papers while she gathered additional evidence from their shared accounts. We planned simultaneous confrontations, her approaching Justin at his construction site, while I served Brianna at her marketing firm. "The timing has to be perfect," Melissa explained, her teacher's organizational skills shining through her pain. "If we give them any chance to coordinate their stories, they'll try to minimize the damage or blame us somehow." She was right. Cheaters were master manipulators, skilled at rewriting history to position themselves as victims of circumstances beyond their control. But we wouldn't give them that opportunity. "I want them to feel the same shock we felt," I said, remembering the moment I'd watched that kiss through our doorbell camera. "I want them blindsided, humiliated, stripped of their ability to control the narrative they've been writing." Melissa nodded, steel replacing the earlier tears in her eyes. "Justin thinks he's untouchable because he's charming, because people like him. But reputation is everything in construction. Once his colleagues know he destroys families, his business will die." The beauty was in the coordination. They'd have no chance to warn each other, no opportunity to craft matching lies or disappear evidence. By the time they realized what was happening, the game would be over. The morning Melissa and I chose to detonate their carefully constructed world, Austin's sky looked appropriately gray and heavy storm clouds gathering like an ominous forecast of the devastation to come. I sat at our kitchen island, sipping coffee while watching Brianna flutter around in her designer workout clothes, completely oblivious to the fact that her secret life was about to become very public knowledge. "Important client presentation today," she said, kissing my cheek with lips that had kissed another man countless times over the past 6 months. "The Peterson account could be huge for the agency. Don't wait up, we might celebrate late." I smiled, the kind of smile that carried no warmth but perfect camouflage. "Of course, sweetheart. Good luck with Peterson." There was no Peterson account. I'd verified that weeks ago through my own connections in Austin's business community. Just another lie in the elaborate fiction she'd constructed, another thread in the web that was about to be torn apart strand by strand. By 11:30 that morning, I was standing in the lobby of Brianna's marketing firm, a thick manila envelope in my hands and justice coursing through my veins like electricity. The office buzzed with typical corporate energy, phones ringing, printers humming, conversations about campaigns and deadlines. Normal people living normal lives, unaware they were about to witness something extraordinary. The receptionist, a young woman with carefully styled hair and curious eyes, looked up from her computer screen as I approached her desk. "I have urgent legal documents for Brianna Pierce," I said clearly, my voice carrying enough volume to draw attention from nearby cubicles. "Time-sensitive papers that require her immediate attention." "Of course, Mr. Pierce, her husband." The word husband rippled through the immediate vicinity like a stone dropped in still water. Conversations quieted, heads turned. In a workplace where everyone knew everyone else's business, the arrival of a spouse with official documents meant drama was brewing. Within minutes, the clicking of familiar heels echoed down the polished hallway. Brianna appeared around the corner, her confident marketing executive persona intact, but confusion cracking her composed mask when she saw me standing there with an envelope that looked distinctly legal. "Nolan?" she asked, eyebrows knitting together in genuine bewilderment. "What are you doing here? Is everything okay with the kids?" "The kids are fine," I replied, my voice steady but deliberately loud enough to carry across the now silent office. "They're at school, learning about honesty and integrity. I'm here for something else entirely." I could sense the growing audience around us, coworkers emerging from their cubicles like prairie dogs, the office manager stepping out of his corner office with a frown deepening across his face as he sensed workplace drama unfolding. "I'm just running a few errands today," I continued, my tone conversational, but carrying an edge that made several people lean closer. "Dry cleaning, grocery, shopping, and serving my wife divorce papers." The envelope hit her hands with devastating weight, heavy with the documentation of 6 months of betrayal. For a moment that stretched like eternity, she blinked rapidly as if her brain couldn't process the words I'd just spoken. Then, with trembling fingers, she opened it. Inside, everything. High-resolution photographs of her and Justin Caldwell in intimate embraces. Financial records showing $4,100 of our money spent on their affair. Timeline documentation proving every lie she'd told. Video stills from our own Ring doorbell showing him kissing her in our driveway. Proof of every stolen afternoon, every fabricated excuse, every betrayal methodically cataloged like exhibits in a criminal trial. Her breath caught audibly, a sharp intake that carried across the silent office. Color drained from her face like someone had opened a valve, leaving her looking pale and ghostly under the fluorescent lights. The manila folder slipped from her hands, documents scattering across the polished floor like evidence at a crime scene. The office had gone completely silent. Coworkers peered over cubicle walls with wide eyes, whispering behind cupped hands. Someone dropped a pen that clattered loudly in the stillness. A phone rang unanswered. The coffee maker gurgled obliviously in the break room, while 30 people watched real-life drama unfold better than any daytime television. "Nolan," she whispered desperately, trying to force composure back into her voice while scrambling to gather the scattered documents. "Let's discuss this at home. This isn't the place for—" "No, Brianna," I interrupted, my voice louder now, deliberately echoing across the polished floors and carpeted workstations. Home is where we played pretend for 6 months. Home is where you lied to my face every single day. This office is where we tell the truth. A marketing associate actually covered her mouth with her hand, watching like she was witnessing a car accident in slow motion. The office manager stepped fully out of his door now, his frown deepening as he watched his star employee crumble under the weight of documented infidelity. I could see him mentally calculating the damage to the company's reputation, wondering how this would affect client relationships. I leaned closer to Brianna, lowering my voice just enough that she could hear me clearly, while still remaining audible to our captivated audience. You thought you were untouchable, that you could lie to me every day while kissing Justin Caldwell in our driveway, spending our children's college fund on hotel rooms and romantic dinners. But I notice everything, Brianna. And now everyone else does too. Her lips trembled as she clutched the scattered papers against her chest like a shield that could protect her from the truth. I never meant for it to go this far. It just happened. That's what every cheater says. I cut her off, my tone razor sharp and unforgiving. Like you, accidentally tripped and fell into someone else's arms for 6 months. Like you accidentally spent $4,000 of our money on another man. The whispers around us grew louder now, a buzz of shocked conversation as coworkers processed what they were witnessing. The numbers were sinking in. $4,000, 6 months, systematic betrayal documented in black and white. Meanwhile, across town at a construction site in Cedar Park, Melissa was executing her own perfect strike. At exactly noon, while Justin supervised his crew pouring concrete for a new subdivision, she appeared with her own manila envelope and her own appetite for justice. His workers watched in stunned silence as she confronted their boss with evidence of his affair, his professional reputation crumbling in real time as the truth spread through the tight-knit contractor community like wildfire. "Don't worry about the details," I said to Brianna, smirking as I prepared to deliver the final blow. "Everything's documented in there. It reads like a manual for destroying families. 5 stars for creativity, 0 for loyalty." As the office door closed behind Brianna and her manager, the room erupted in hushed conversations and shocked whispers. I walked out of that building taller than I'd felt in months, justice coursing through my veins like pure electricity. The woman who had thought she was untouchable, who had played me for a fool while living a double life, had just been exposed in front of her entire professional world. That evening, Brianna returned home to find her suitcases packed neatly by the front door, along with boxes containing her personal belongings. Her mascara was streaked, eyes bloodshot, shoulders slumped in defeat. The confident marketing executive who had left that morning was gone, replaced by someone who looked genuinely broken for the first time in our 15-year marriage. "You packed my things?" she stammered, her voice raw from what I imagined had been hours of damage control conversations with her boss and HR department. "No, Brianna, Santa came early," I replied calmly, my tone measured and cold. "You've been very naughty this year, so I helped him out." Her face twisted with desperate anger, the mask finally slipping completely. "We should talk about this like adults, like civilized people." "Excellent idea," I shot back, my voice carrying the satisfaction of someone holding all the cards. "My lawyer specializes in adult conversations. He's particularly good at explaining consequences to people who thought they were immune to them." She grabbed her suitcases with trembling hands, struggling with the weight while glaring at me with powerless rage. The woman who had once carried herself like she was invincible now stumbled toward her car, exposed and stripped bare before her colleagues, her husband, and soon a family court judge. As her BMW pulled out of our driveway, the same driveway where she'd kissed Justin Caldwell, thinking no one was watching, I whispered to myself like a solemn vow, "This is just the beginning." 3 months later, the Travis County Family Courthouse smelled of justice and stale coffee. I sat at the plaintiff's table in my best Navy suit, evidence files stacked like architectural blueprints beside my attorney. The documentation we'd assembled was overwhelming. Financial forensics, digital evidence, surveillance footage, witness statements, a paper trail so comprehensive that Brianna's expensive lawyer looked defeated before proceedings even began. Brianna entered pale and desperate, her legal team whispering frantically in her ear about damage control and plea negotiations. But we weren't negotiating. Not after 6 months of systematic lies and $4,500 of stolen family money spent on hotel rooms and romantic dinners with another woman's husband. When the judge began reviewing our evidence, his expression grew progressively stern. Every timestamp, every hotel receipt, every Ring doorbell video, every financial transaction painted Brianna as exactly what she was, a calculating individual who had systematically destroyed her marriage with deliberate deceit while using marital assets to fund her betrayal. "The evidence is overwhelming," Judge Patricia Hernandez stated, her voice carrying the weight of legal authority. "Mrs. Pierce, this isn't a case of marital discord or communication breakdown. This is documented infidelity supported by misuse of joint funds and systematic deception spanning 6 months." Brianna's attorney tried desperately to weave alternative narratives about stress, about marriage problems that predated the affair, about emotional confusion that led to poor decisions. But Judge Hernandez wasn't buying fantasy when presented with hard evidence. "Mrs. Pierce," the judge continued firmly, "your actions demonstrate a pattern of calculated deception and financial misappropriation. In the state of Texas, adultery affects property division, spousal support, and child custody arrangements. Actions have consequences." My heart thundered as justice fell, piece by methodical piece. No alimony, the adultery clause in Texas family law, was clear and unforgiving. Minimal asset division due to her misuse of marital funds. Primary custody of Aiden and Zoe, with Brianna receiving supervised visitation until she could demonstrate stable housing and employment. Reimbursement for the $4,200 she'd spent on her affair. Our Lakeway house, solely mine. The judge also ordered Brianna to cover my legal fees, adding insult to financial injury. My attorney had built such an airtight case that the court proceedings resembled a formality rather than a contested hearing. Brianna gasped audibly, lips parting like she'd been physically struck. She turned toward me with desperate eyes, perhaps hoping to see some trace of the man who had once loved her unconditionally. "Nolan, please," she whispered across the courtroom. "We can fix this. We can try counseling, mediation, anything." I leaned slightly forward, my voice steady and final. "No, Brianna. You broke our family. Now you get to live with the pieces while I protect our children from the consequences of your choices." Outside the courthouse, Texas sunlight cut through Austin's typical cloud cover, warm on my face as I breathed deeply, the first truly free breath I'd taken in months. My attorney clapped me on the back with professional satisfaction. "You handled this perfectly," he said, organizing papers into his briefcase. "Most people explode emotionally and damage their own cases. You built documentation that couldn't be challenged or disputed. That's why you won completely." "She thought she was smarter than me," I replied, watching courthouse traffic flow around us. That was her fundamental miscalculation. The parallel victory was equally satisfying. Melissa had won her own decisive court battle against Justin, who lost his house, his business reputation, and primary custody of his daughters. Word had spread through Austin's contractor network like wildfire. Companies don't recommend cheaters to their clients, and Justin's referral pipeline dried up completely. 6 weeks later, information filtered back through mutual acquaintances about our former spouse's new reality. Brianna and Justin had moved in together, not from passion, but from economic necessity. Two people who had destroyed their families for stolen moments of excitement now scraped by in a cramped apartment off South Lamar, sharing takeout containers and mutual regret. Their grand romance had reduced to survival mode. No more luxury hotels or expensive dinners. No more designer clothes or spontaneous getaways. Just two middle-aged people facing the consequences of their choices, while their former families moved forward without them. I didn't need to lift another finger against them. Karma had taken the baton and finished the race with poetic precision. One evening, as I sat in my quiet house with a glass of bourbon, watching Aiden and Zoe play in our backyard through the kitchen window, I finally felt the peace I'd been missing for months. Their laughter carried on the Austin breeze, pure and innocent, untainted by the adult drama that had nearly torn their world apart. I hadn't just survived betrayal. I had orchestrated an ending that left no doubt about accountability and justice. My children were safe, our home was secure, and two people who thought they were too clever for consequences had learned otherwise. Some might call it revenge. I call it accountability. And every night, I sleep perfectly in the home I saved, with my children safe beside me, knowing that sometimes precision and patience really do triumph over deception and entitlement.